Master Rowley.
Sir Oliver. Sir Oliver Surface.
Shh. Don't mention my name yet, while I beseech you.
Oh, I had forgot. To the Grapes Tavern in Mount Street as soon as you may. How went the voyage from India?
Oh, up and down, Rowley, up and down. Worse than this, I assure you.
I never saw you look so hearty, however. 16 years.
But come, Master Rowley, to business. How are my two dear nephews, Joseph and Charles? Are you sure they know nothing of my arrival?
Not a suspicion, Sir Oliver. I should tell you, though, that all is not well with either of them.
Hey, what? Not well?
The allowances you've been sending them from India may have been too generous.
Oh, come, Rowley.
Well, the case of each is very different. Joseph Surface is a young man highly thought of by many, but in my opinion has turned into an avaricious and hypocritical knave. He passes himself off as a man of sentiment.
Egad, what is a man of sentiment?
Someone, Sir Oliver, who is so very obsessed with expressing his moral sentiments that he has no time left to live up to them. Such folk are common in London these days.
A plague on his sentiments. If he salutes me with a scrap of morality in his mouth, I shall be sick directly. But what of Charles?
Oh, Sir Oliver, your younger nephew is quite another creature. He has all the good heart and open hand of your brother, his father. But these very virtues have led him into reckless extravagance. His gambling and free living have lost him near all the monies you've supplied him with since you left. And his reputation as a profligate becomes worse by the hour.
Come, Master Rowley, you're telling me more than you should. As you know, I've kept my arrival secret in order to test their characters. I shall see for myself whether they've played false on me.
Ah, sir, it gives me new heart to find that the sons of my good old master still have one wise friend left.
What should I forget, Master Rowley, when I was at their years myself? Egad, me brother and I were neither of us very prudent youths. But how stand they with my dear old friend, Sir Peter Teazle? Oh, I cannot wait till I see him again.
Sir Peter's feelings towards your nephews are unaccountable, and the very reverse of mine.
You are wrong, Master Rowley. I was never mistaken in my life. Joseph is indeed a model for the young men of the age. He's a man of sentiment, and he acts up to the sentiments he professes. But Charles, take my word for it, if he had any grain of virtue by descent, he's dissipated it with the rest of his inheritance.
So he has entirely given up Charles and never sees him.
You astonish me.
His prejudice against Charles is greatly increased by a group of scandalmongers in the neighborhood who do everything they can to blacken Charles's name.
My dear Snake, will you never understand me? Destroyed myself in the early part of my life by the envenomed tongue of scandal. I confess I have since known no pleasure equal to that of bringing the reputation of others down to the level of my own.
Why, Lady Sneerwell, nothing could be more natural.
But tell me, have you circulated the reports of Charles Surface's financial ruin?
With much finesse. I believe the story should be throughout London in about 14 hours.
Ah, my dear Snake. And have you completed the letter as I instructed you?
From Lady Teazle to Charles? I have it here, and will be dropping it at Sir Peter's presently. I believe I've forged Lady Teazle's country handwriting with tolerable success.
Very country indeed.
But, Lady Sneerwell, there is one affair wherein I confess I am at a loss to guess your motives.
What, with Sir Peter Teazle and his family?
Why, yes. I can see, of course, the pleasure you will gain in destroying the ridiculous marriage between Sir Peter and his little Lady Teazle. But why do you bother to break up the relationship between Charles and Sir Peter's ward, Maria? Or more importantly, why do you not attach yourself to his brother Joseph, who is clearly in love with your ladyship?
Then at once to unravel this mystery. Love has no share in the relationship between Joseph Surface and me.
No.
The truth is that Joseph is also in love with Maria, or with her fortune. And since he finds his brother in favor with the girl, he has asked me to help him win Maria for himself.
Yet still, I am puzzled. Joseph is rich, and when Sir Oliver Surface dies, will be richer still. Why do you not persuade him to forget Maria and marry you at once?
Heavens, how dull you are. Must I confess that it is Charles Surface, that libertine, that extravagant whom I love? To gain him, I would sacrifice everything. And now, thanks to your work, Snake, I will soon be the only one that will love him.
Now, indeed, your conduct appears consistent.
Mr. Joseph Surface has arrived and is eager to see your ladyship.
Show him in. Don't leave, Snake. He generally calls about this time. I don't wonder that people think he's my lover.
My dear Lady Sneerwell, how do you do today?
Well, tell me, did you see your mistress Maria, or what is more material to me, your brother Charles?
I have not seen either since I left you. But I can tell you that they never meet. Some of your published stories about Charles have had their effect on Maria.
Ah, my dear Snake, the merit of this belongs to you.
Mr. Snake, you're most obedient.
Snake has just been reproving me for not marrying you at once. But I have informed him of our real feelings.
What?
My confidence is not ill-placed. You know how useful he has been to us.
Madam, it is impossible for me to suspect a man of Mr. Snake's sensibility and discernment.
Oh, well, no compliments now. But tell me, do your brother's distresses really increase?
Every hour. I am told he had another confiscation of furniture yesterday.
Oh, poor Charles.
True, madam, in spite of his vices, one can't help feeling sorry for him. Aye, poor Charles. For the man who does not pity the distresses of a brother, even though merited by his own misconduct, deserves...
Oh, lad, you're going to be moral and forget that you're among friends.
Egad, that's true. I'll keep that sentiment till I see Sir Peter. However, it certainly is a charity to rescue Maria's fortune from such a libertine, who, if he is to be reclaimed, can be so only through a person of your ladyship's superior accomplishments and understanding.
Lady Sneerwell, here's more company coming. I'll go and deliver the letter I mentioned to you. Mr. Surface, you're most obedient.
Sir, you're very devoted. Lady Sneerwell, I'm sorry you've put further confidence in that fellow.
Why so?
I have lately detected him in frequent conference with old Rowley. Who was formerly my father's steward. Rowley has never, you know, been a friend of mine.
And do you think Snake would betray us to him?
Nothing more likely. Take my word for it, Lady Sneerwell. That fellow hasn't virtue enough to be faithful even to his own villainy. Ah, Maria.
Maria, my dear, how do you do? What's the matter?
That disagreeable lover of mine, Sir Benjamin Backbite, has just called at my guardian's with his odious Uncle Crabtree. So I slipped out and run hither to avoid them.
Oh, is that all?
If my brother Charles had been of the company, madam, perhaps he would not have been so much alarmed.
Nay, now you are severe, for I dare swear the truth of the matter is Maria heard you were here. But, my dear, what has Sir Benjamin done that you should avoid him so?
Oh, he has done nothing.
Oh, nay, but we must make allowances. Sir Benjamin is a wit and a poet. Oh, fie, Maria. You have a most unpolished way of thinking.
What's your opinion, Mr. Surface?
Certainly, to smile at the jest which plants a thorn in another's breast is to become a principal in the mischief.
Oh, sure. There's no possibility of being witty without a little ill nature. The malice of a good thing is the barb that makes it stick. Don't you think so, Mr. Surface?
Mrs. Candor is below, and if your ladyship's at leisure, will leave her carriage.
Beg her to walk in. Now, Maria, here is a character to your taste. For although Mrs. Candor is a little talkative, everybody allows her to be the best-natured sort of person.
My dear Lady Sneerwell, how have you been this century? Oh, Mr. Surface, what news do you hear? Though indeed 'tis no matter, for I think one hears nothing but scandal. Oh.
Just so, indeed, Ma'am.
Maria, child, what, is the whole affair off between you and Charles? His extravagance, I presume. The town talks of nothing else.
I'm very sorry, ma'am. The town has so little to do.
True, true, child, but there's no stopping people's tongues. I own I was hurt to hear it, as indeed I was to learn from the same quarter that your guardian, Sir Peter, and Lady Teazle have not agreed lately so well as could be wished.
It's strangely impertinent for people to busy themselves so.
To be sure it is. Tale-bearers are as bad as tale-makers. Today, Mrs. Clackett hinted to me that a certain widow in the next street had got rid of her dropsy and recovered her shape in a most surprising manner. Oh. And at the same time, Miss Tattle, who was by, affirmed that Lord Buffalo had discovered his wife at a house of most unimpressive repute. But, Lord, do you think I would report these things? No. Tale-bearers, as I said before, are just as bad as tale-makers.
Ah, Mrs. Candour, if everybody had your forbearance and good nature.
I confess, Mr. Surface, I cannot bear to hear people attacked behind their backs.
My dear Mrs. Candour.
And when ugly circumstances come out against me friends, I always choose to think the best. By the by, I hope it is not true that your brother is absolutely ruined.
I'm afraid his circumstances are very bad indeed, Ma'am.
I heard so, but almost everybody's in the same way. So if Charles is undone, he'll find half his acquaintances ruined too. And that, you know, is a consolation.
Doubtless, Ma'am, a very great one.
Mr. Crabtree and Sir Benjamin Backbite.
Ah, Maria, you see, your lover pursues you. Positively, you shan't escape him.
Lady Snowell, I kiss your hands. Mrs. Candour, I don't believe you're acquainted with my nephew, Sir Benjamin Backbite. Egad, ma'am, he has a pretty wit and is a pretty poet, too. Isn't it, Lady Snowell?
Fie, Uncle.
Nay, egad, it's true.
I wonder, Sir Benjamin, you never publish anything.
To say truth, ma'am, 'tis very vulgar to print. However, I have some love elegies which, when favored with this lady's smiles, I mean to give to the public.
Oh, heaven, ma'am, he will immortalize you.
Yes, madam, I think you will like them when you shall see them on a beautiful quarto page, where a neat rivulet of text shall murmur through a meadow of margin. For gad, they will be the most elegant things of their kind.
But I had forgot. Mr. Surface, is it true your Uncle Sir Oliver is coming home?
Not that I know of, indeed, sir.
He's been in the East Indies a long time. You can scarcely remember him, I suppose. Do you expect to inherit all this fortune? Your brother Charles could hardly hope to share it after the way he's gone on.
Charles has been very imprudent, sir, to be sure, but I hope no busy people have prejudiced Sir Oliver against him. He may reform.
To be sure he may. Yet no man lives in greater splendor. I am told when he entertains his friends, he sits down to dinner with a dozen of his own creditors and a bailiff behind every guest's chair.
This may be entertainment to you, gentlemen, but you pay very little regard to the feelings of a brother.
Lady Snowell, I'm not very well.
Oh, dear, she changes colour very much.
Go, comfort her, Mrs. Candour.
Poor dear girl. Who knows what her situation may be?
Oh, she could not bear to hear Charles reflected on, for all their difference.
The young lady's penchant is obvious.
I fear her affections for him are farther engaged than we imagine. However, Lady Teazle will be here at noon, and we shall learn more. Meanwhile, you shall study sentiment, and I must plot more mischief.
That Sir P and Lady T of Grosvenor Square have added a new picture to their collection entitled The Old Goat and the Young Virgin. Fiend and vipers! Oh, when an old bachelor takes a young wife, what is he to expect? 'Tis now 6 months since Lady Teazle made me the happiest of men, and I've been the miserablest dog ever since. We tipped a little on the way to the church and came to a quarrel before the bells were done ringing. I was more than once nearly choked with gall during the honeymoon and had lost all comfort in life before my friends had done wishing me joy.
I chose with caution. A girl bred wholly in the country who never knew luxury beyond one silk gown or dissipation above the annual gala of a race ball. But now she plays her part in all the extravagant fopperies of the town. I'm sneered at by my old acquaintance. And now I see paragraphed in the newspapers. She dissipates me fortune and contradicts me in everything. Yet the worst of it is, I fear I love her, or I should never bear all this. However, I'll never be weak enough to admit it.
Ah, Sir Peter, your servant. How is it with you, sir?
It's very bad, Master Rowley, very bad.
What could have happened to trouble you since yesterday?
That's a good question to a married man.
Nay, I'm sure your lady is not the cause of your uneasiness.
Why, has anyone told you she was dead?
Come, Sir Peter, you love her. Notwithstanding, your tempers don't exactly agree.
The fault is entirely hers, Master Rowley. I am myself the sweetest tempered man alive and hate a teasing temper, and so I tell her 100 times a day.
Indeed.
Aye. And what is very extraordinary, in all our disputes, she is always in the wrong. Yeah, but Lady Sneerwell and the set she draws to her house encourage the perverseness of my wife's disposition. And now... It is painful to confess, Master Rowley, but there has just now come into me hands a letter addressed to that libertine Charles Surface.
What?
Is that not my wife's own country hand?
How came you by the letter?
She dropped it in this very room.
Dropped it, Sir Peter? Do you believe your wife, even were she to write such a thing, would be so negligent? If you will give me the loan of this letter, I believe I will reveal some roguery.
Will you keep it from the eyes of that profligate Charles?
Of course. But you know, Sir Peter, I have always differed with you on the subject of Charles. He will retrieve his errors yet. Oh, I'm sorry to find you so violent against him, because this may be the most critical period of his fortunes. Sir Oliver has arrived.
How?
And is at this moment in town.
You astonish me. I thought you did not expect him this month.
I did not, but his passage has been remarkably quick.
Oh, egad, I shall rejoice to see my old friend. Yet 'tis 16 years since we met. Oh, we've had many a day together. But does he still enjoin us not to inform his nephews of his arrival?
Most strictly. He means first to make a test of their characters for himself.
But pray tell me, does he know that I'm married?
Yes, and will soon wish you joy.
What, as we drink health to a friend in consumption? Oh, Oliver will laugh at me. We used to rail at matrimony together, but he has been steady to his text. Well, he must stay at my house.
Good.
I'll go and give orders for his reception. Oh, but Master Rowley, don't drop a word that Lady Teasle and I ever disagree.
By no means.
For I should never be able to stand Noel's jokes, so I'd have him think, Lord forgive me, that we're a very happy couple.
I understand you. But then you must be very careful not to differ while he's in the house with you.
Gad, and that's impossible. Ah, Master Rowley, when an old bachelor marries a young wife, he deserves... No, the crime carries the punishment along with it. Lady Teasle, I'll not bear it.
Sir Peter, you may bear it or not as you please. But I ought to have my own way in everything, and what's more, I will, too. What though I was educated in the country, I know very well that women of fashion in London are accountable to nobody after they are married.
So a husband is to have no influence, no authority?
Oh, no, to be sure. If you wanted authority over me, you should have adopted me and not married me. I am sure you were old enough.
Old enough. Lady Teasle, though my life may be made unhappy by your temper, I'll not be ruined by your extravagance. You forget what your situation was when I married you.
Oh, no, I don't. It was a very disagreeable one, or I should never have married you.
Madam, you were then in a somewhat humbler state. the daughter of a plain country squire. Recollect, Lady Teazle, when I saw you first, in a pretty figured linen gown, a bunch of keys by your side, and your hair combed smooth over a roll.
Yes, I remember it well, and a curious life I led. My daily occupation to inspect the dairy, superintend the poultry, make extracts from the family recipe book, and comb my Aunt Deborah's lapdog.
Aye, madam, 'twas so indeed. And what have I not done for you? I have made you a woman of fashion, of fortune, of rank. In short, I have made you my wife.
Well, then there's but one thing more you can make me.
A widow, I suppose.
Ah.
Thank you, madam. But don't flatter yourself, for though your rudeness may disturb me peace, it shall never break me heart. However, I'm obliged to you for the hint.
Well, then why will you endeavor to make yourself so disagreeable to me and thwart me in every little elegant expense?
Madam, I say, had you any of these elegant expenses when you married me?
Lad, Sir Peter, I should think you would like to have your wife thought a woman of taste.
Taste? Zoons, madam, you had no taste when you married me.
That's very true indeed, Sir Peter. And after having married you, I'm sure I should never pretend to taste again.
Madam.
So I have gained much by my expostulations. Yet with what a charming air she contradicts everything I say to her, and how pleasingly she shows her contempt for my authority. Well, though I can't make her love me, there is great satisfaction in quarreling with her. And I think she never appears to such advantage as when she's doing everything in her power to plague me.
Now, Sir Peter, if we have finished our daily jangle, I presume I may go to my engagement at Lady Sneerwell's.
A charming set of acquaintance you've made there.
Oh, nay, Sir Peter, they are people of rank and fortune, and remarkably tenacious of reputation.
Yes, with a vengeance, for they don't choose anybody should have a good character but themselves.
What would you restrain the freedom of speech?
Oh, they've made you just as bad as any one of the society.
Why, I believe I do bear a part with a tolerable grace. But I vow I have no malice against the people I abuse, and I take it for granted they don't either. Oh, but you know, Sir Peter, you promised to come to Lady Sneerwell's too, remember? Your friend Joseph Surface will be there.
He will? You surprise me. But no, I cannot come. Tell her ladyship I'm prevented by particular business.
Oh, very well, husband. So goodbye to ye.
Oh, goodbye, Lady Teazle.
Now.
No.
Nay, positively, we will hear it.
Yes, the epigram, by all means.
Oh, plague on't, Uncle, 'tis mere nonsense.
No, forget. Very clever for an extempore.
Very well. But first, ladies, you should know the circumstance. You must know that one day last week, as Lady Betty Curricle was taking the dust in Hyde Park in a sort of miniature chariot, she desired me to write some verses on her ponies, upon which I took out my pocketbook and in one moment produced the following. Sure never were seen two such beautiful ponies. The horses are clowns, and these macaronis. Nay, to give them this title, I'm sure isn't wrong. Their legs are so slim, and their tails are so long.
Well, there, ladies, done in the smack of a whip, and on horseback, too.
A very Phoebus mounted, indeed, Sir Benjamin. Dear sir, trifles.
I must have a copy.
Lady Teazle, there you are. I hope we shall see Sir Peter.
No, Lady Sneerwell, I regret he's detained by a particular engagement. But never fear. I'm perfectly happy to be here alone, I assure you.
Maria, my love, you look grave. Come, you shall sit down to cards with Mr. Surface.
I'm surprised Mr. Surface should sit down with her. I thought he would have embraced this opportunity of speaking to me.
Now I'll die, but you're so scandalous, I'll forswear your society.
What's the matter, Mrs. Candor?
They'll not allow our friend Miss Vermillion to be handsome.
Oh, surely she's a pretty woman.
I'm very glad you think so, ma'am.
She has a charming fresh colour.
Yes, when it is fresh put on.
Oh, fie, I'll swear her colour is natural. I've seen it come and go.
Oh, I dare swear you have, ma'am. It goes of a night and comes again in the morning.
Though surely that's better than the careless manner with which the widow Ochre corks her wrinkles.
Nay, now, Lady Snowbell, you are severe upon the widow. Come, come. It is not that she paints so ill, but when she has finished her face, she joins it on so badly to her neck that she looks like a mended statue, in which the connoisseur may see at once that the head's modern, though the trunk's antique.
Well, you make me laugh, but I vow I hate you for it. What do you think of Miss Sallow?
Oh, an awkward gawky without one good point under heaven.
Now, positively, you wrong her. Miss Sallow is a relation of mine by marriage. And as to her person, great allowance is to be made. For let me tell you, a woman labours under many disadvantages who tries to pass for a girl at 56.
Oh, Lady Teazle, how is life with Sir Peter? He is a strange being. I could tell you some stories of him would make you laugh heartily if he wasn't your husband.
Oh, pray, don't mind that. Do let's hear them.
Come, let us sit down to cards and we shall hear everything.
Nothing could excuse the rapaciousness of their tongues but an ungovernable bitterness of mind.
But can you, Maria, feel thus for their victims and be unkind to me alone?
Why will you distress me by renewing this subject?
Ah, Maria, you would not treat me thus, but that I see that profligate Charles is still a favored rival.
You are ungenerous, sir.
Nay, but Maria, do not leave me with a frown. By all that's honest, I swear. You must not. No, you shall not, for though I have the greatest regard for Lady Teazle... Lady Teazle?
Lady Teazle?
Yet were Sir Peter to suspect...
Oh, what is this, Ray? Do you take her for me? Child, you are wanted in the next room. What is all this, pray?
Oh, the most unlucky circumstance in nature. Maria has somehow suspected the tender concern I have for your happiness and threatened to inform Sir Peter of her suspicions. And I was just endeavoring to reason with her when you came.
Indeed. But you seem to adopt a very tender mode of reasoning. Do you usually argue on your knees?
Oh, she's a child, and I thought a little bombast. But Lady Teazle, when are you going to give me your judgment on my library, as you promised?
Oh, no, I begin to think it would be imprudent. And you know I admit you as a lover. No further than fashion requires.
True, a mere platonic amour, what every London wife is entitled to.
Certainly, one must not be out of the fashion. However, I have so many of my country prejudices left that though Sir Peter's ill humor may vex me ever so, it never shall provoke me to...
The only revenge in your power? Well, I applaud your moderation.
Go, you're an insinuating wretch. Oh, but we shall be missed.
One moment. Will you visit me this afternoon at my house?
I know I shall try. But come, let us join the company.
We had best not return together. A curious dilemma, truly, my politics have run me into. I wanted at first only to ingratiate myself with Lady Teazle that she might not be my enemy with Maria. And I have, I don't know how, become her serious lover. Sincerely, I begin to wish I'd never made such a point of gaining so very good a character, for it has led me into so many cursed rogueries, I fear I shall be exposed at last.
is upstairs and will be down directly.
Ah, then we shall surprise him, eh, Rowley?
Oh, we shall indeed, Sir Oliver.
But you tell me he is married, eh?
Oh, yes.
A young wife from the country?
Yes.
Oh, that he should have stood an old bachelor so long and sunk into husband at last.
But you must not tease him on the subject, Sir Oliver. 'Tis a tender point, I assure you, though he's been married only 6 months.
Then he's been just half a year on the stool of repentance. Poor Peter.
He's coming! He's coming!
Mercy on me, he's greatly altered and seems to have a settled married look.